What's up everybody, Fritz here. In today's video we're installing the VRSF Catless downpipe on the M235i. Let's get into the video. That's right, we're taking our first step into installing a stage 2 tune on the M235i by installing the VRSF Catless downpipe. Now if you prefer, you go with high flow cats as well. However, I prefer to go with the catless version in this case because the M235i has a single exhaust system. In a dual exhaust system, you'll actually see a better benefit from high flow cats because the pulsating gases will pool on each other as they're passing through the exhaust system in order to expel the gases much faster. Here, we're relying on that single pipe in order to expel all of our exhaust gases. So, reducing the restriction point in this case might not give you the results that you're thinking of. So, on the M235i and any car with a single exhaust, it's probably better just to do the catless version. And since we're on the topic of catalytic converters, the O2 sensors are going to be another thing that you want to consider. If you're doing it for race applications, you'll just run with these bungs that are in the downpipe, but you can also code them out if you have something like boot mode 3, or you can simply get the high flow cat, but make sure that the manufacturer will ensure you that you will not trip an error code from your O2 sensors. That is something that you have to look into, and the whole purpose of running high flow cats. And the reason why I went with VRSF is because they do make great quality products, and more importantly, they guarantee them for a lifetime. You also have to remember here too that with a catless downpipe, this is just a tube of welded and molded metal. That is it. There's no reason why it should cost $1,000 or even $500 here. This is something that we can definitely save money on, especially if we have a company like VRSF giving us a lifetime warranty. That means they stand by their products. Now, in the case of a high flow cat, it makes sense why it's so expensive. It's because you're restricting the length of the catalytic converter for a more efficient system. So you could be cutting your cats to half. Therefore, the metal has to process those gases and remove all the harmful properties in a shorter amount of time. So there is a chemical process involved with a high flow cat, therefore you pay more for it. And that's typically the reason why high flow cats will cost more than a catless version. The other thing that you want to consider is getting some extra V-band clamps just in case the one on your car aren't reusable, because there is a tendency for these screws to seize and you will have to just strip them off. Hopefully we don't have that problem, but just in case, we have some new V-band clamps ready to go. If you guys need anything that we use in this video, it's going to be in the affiliate links down in the description. With that said, let's go ahead and get started by unclipping the O2 sensors underneath the hood. The O2 sensors are going to be located on the passenger side underneath the hood. What you'll need to do to access them is remove the engine cover and this foam piece right here, which goes around some of the points that hold in the engine cover. So just lift it up and guide it out. And with that foam panel removed, you can see that we have our two O2 sensors right here. And for point of reference, if this is how yours looks, make sure that when you do the reinstallation, that blue is in the rear and the black is in the front. In order to remove the O2 sensors, just tilt them out of place from their holders. You're gonna see this little gray tab right here. All that you have to do is dig your finger in there, pull it up, and then push it in as you separate the connections. Do the same thing with the blue side. Locate that gray tab, slide it up, push it in, and pull them apart. Then jack up the front of the car by its front center jack point. Then slide in your jack stands. Now remove all of the 8mm screws that hold in the under panel. And this is something that I would highly suggest that you use safety glasses for. Now with the under panel removed, you can see that we have some screws holding in our downpipe. It's easier just to remove the bracket entirely because we won't be using it again. So don't remove this screw over here, but remove these two screws that hold in the bracket up here. That way you don't have to remove the upper screw holding in the top bracket. You will have to use a counter wrench, otherwise the bolt will just spin in place. Once you get it loosened up, you can just take it out by hand and pull it out. Moving down here, we can remove our V-band clamp down here. Once you loosen this up with a 16mm wrench, you can just twist it off, as well as the upper V-band clamp right there. And the upper V-band clamp is very similar to the lower V-band clamp, in which you just have to loosen up that bolt and then you can undo the rest by hand once it's loosened. This one didn't give me that much of a problem, but the lower V-band clamp down here, even though I removed the nut holding it into place, it was still holding on pretty tight. So in order to loosen this lower V-band clamp, all I did was just take a hammer, kind of knock that bolt back. Okay, that's the lower.
And here you can see that we have our post O2 cat sensor clipped in just above the turbo manifold, and following it further upstream you can see where it holds in both the pre and the post O2 sensors. All that you have to do from underneath the car is just pull these clips down.
Now the last thing that's holding in the downpipe is this brace over here. Once we remove the downpipe brace as well as the V-band clamps, this thing could fall on your head. So it's a good thing just to safely get out of the way. Hold up the brace as you undo that 8mm screw. Oh boy. And since we have a new gasket included with our V-band clamp, we can remove the one that is on the car by just using a small screwdriver to pick it out. And here we can compare our OEM downpipe to our new VRSF downpipe. Obviously you can see that there is a noticeable size difference, and that is because there is a cat running from here to here that has to dispel all of the harmful gases from the turbo. Here it's just simply a clear pipe all the way through. And then we also have our clamps, one that attaches the downpipe to the turbo. This is actually a whole lot easier to install by putting it on the car first, so we'll get to this one later. This one you definitely want brand new because those teeth will bend when you remove the old downpipe, and it's easier to do this from putting it on the downpipe first. So the top portion you're gonna wanna put on the car first, the lower portion you're gonna wanna put on the downpipe first. Other than the size between the two downpipes, you can definitely tell that there is a good amount of weight savings between the two. It's nice if you're trying to do some weight reduction, but it's not necessarily something that I would look into primarily for the weight savings. It's really having that unrestricted flow, because you can see the catalytic converter. This is the component that is responsible for removing the harmful gases from the turbo. But it's a huge restriction point when it comes to performance. So the faster we can expel those gases, the better. Even if you do plan to coat out the O2 sensors, you definitely want to transfer them over. The only time that you will want to use the bungs is in a race application. Other than that, go ahead and transfer over the O2 sensors. Just use a 7/8 wrench, or I believe it's a 22mm in metric to convert it. And when you pull these out, you're going to want to put some anti-seize on them so that when you do need to replace them eventually down the road, you can do that without having to strip the bolt. And while you have the anti-seize out, you might want to put some on the bolt that's going to hold in the bottom downpipe clamp. Now that our O2 sensors have their anti-seize, we can go ahead and install them onto the VRSF downpipe. And just in case you took off the O2 sensors and you forgot which one goes where, the longer one will go towards the farther end of the downpipe, or the smaller diameter portion, and then the shorter end will be at the larger diameter or at the beginning portion of the downpipe. And now to get this clamp onto the downpipe, we want the teeth to be facing the end of the downpipe, and the non-teeth side over here, this is what we want to connect to the extending exhaust. And the way you'll want to do this is to slide in one side and then the other, in order to lock the teeth around the lip of the downpipe. And then once you have the clamp on, go ahead and insert the bolt, the washer on the opposite side, and the nut. You want to make sure that the nut is facing downwards with orientation to the car. That way, if you ever need to change this later on, it's easier to access. You don't want to have it so tight that there's actually a portion of the bolt coming through the nut, but you want to have it tight enough that the clamp doesn't come off. Now let's prepare the opposite clamp and gasket onto the turbo, and then we can get this on. And now we can place in our new gasket. So now that we have our gasket on, we should put in our clamp now and make sure that it fits around the lip for the turbo, and then get the inner lip of the downpipe into the turbo before putting on the clamp around the downpipe. Now once the clamp is fully around the downpipe as well as the turbo, go ahead and place in your bolt and make sure that the bolt is accessible from the driver's side. That way, if you need to make any changes on this end, it's easily accessible. Now don't tighten it down fully. You're gonna want some play in it, just a little bit as we do right here, because you want some wiggle room, because in order to secure the opposite end so that we can have easy access to it when it comes time to tightening it down. Now that the bottom portion of the downpipe is in nice and tight, go ahead and tighten down the top portion of the downpipe before putting in your O2 sensors. Just in case you guys forgot where the O2 sensors latch onto, they latch right onto that ledge there, as well as that ledge there. So there you can see the wiring for our O2 sensors both clip into the one more upstream, closer to the top of the engine bay, and the one for the post cat is the only one that goes around that corner there. Now this is a good time for us to start the car and check for any exhaust leaks. If there are no exhaust leaks, we can go ahead and put back on the under panel and bring down the car. Followed by putting back on the foam panel. And if you look on the underside of the foam panel, you can see that there are actual cutouts here and inserts that go around the portions that hold in the engine cover. So if you just follow that layout, it will line up perfectly. Once you have that foam panel firmly secured, you can throw on the engine cover before close the hood. And just like that, you're all installing the downpipe on your BMW. If you have any questions for me, leave it down in the comment section. If you're looking for the downpipe or any of the tools that we use in this video, or even some Vroom Tuber merch, those are gonna be in the links in the description. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe and hit that notification bell, because right now we're about to do an initial review of the downpipe with a stage 1 tune and answer some frequently asked questions. So to make sure that you don't miss out on that video, as well as the information in it, hit that notification bell, and I'll see you in that video.